Alrighty, people. It is a huge, monumental day. This is the first day that we are doing a 2025 rookie mock draft. You're going to have a chance to join us, and I'm excited, man. I'm really excited to talk about this class, to dive into the nitty-gritty. I know last week when we did the startup, there was a lot of comments saying, I need the rookie draft. Well, that day is here, so we appreciate y'all for being here with us and remaining patient. You know, I like, just personal preference, I don't like to cover anything about the upcoming class unless I do genuine, in-depth research that, you know, is built around both analytics and film. I just feel like I'm giving you an incomplete picture unless I've done that, and we have officially, at least for V1 of the rookie draft guide, completed that process. Excited to be here with you. I see y'all in the chat. What's up, Brizzleton? Styles is here. Daniel's here. Maddie's here. Styles says he just acquired a late first. He wants to see who goes in that area. What's up, WG? Welcome in. Appreciate y'all for being here with us. Hey, be a friend as the stream begins. Go ahead and smash that like button. We've got a like goal today of 100 likes. Whether that happens on a live stream or afterwards, I'm not sure, but I do appreciate y'all for being here with us. What's up, Proofy? What's up, Matt? Welcome in. Again, really appreciate y'all for being here. You're gonna have a chance to join us. Now, in the spirit of full transparency, our roles have changed, and we haven't actually really addressed that at all on the Dynasty channel, Badaki, because this change that we made to our company was probably August of this year, and we haven't like really been in the Dynasty scheme of things. And basically the role changes that we made is just like trying to let both of our, you know, what we're good at kind of shine and build the brand. So you'll see me in a lot more of the videos. We'll have Badaki hopefully on a couple of those videos as well. A week, we'll see. And then Badaki is behind the scenes making things happen. I mean, you guys would have seen recently our playbook that was released. This was about a month ago. This was not possible unless that role change happened where Badaki's time was freed up, you know, kind of to allow his strengths to shine, if you will. Obviously on the live streams will both be there, but as of right now, because of all the things Badaki's doing on the background, and we had a whole entire branding update which will launch here in January. Everything has changed, and Badaki's been working hard on that.
Oh boy.
So all that has changed. Now Badaki's been doing things on the back end. He hasn't scouted the class yet. Now he knows a little bit, but he'll be playing the inquisitive viewer today. All right. So, you know, he's learning along with you guys, and I'm still learning myself, but I do appreciate y'all for being here with us. But just so you guys know, we haven't really addressed that yet, but yeah, I know a lot of people are like, where's Badaki? Where's Badaki at? Did you fire Badaki? Like, no, legally I'm not allowed to.
Fire Badaki?
No, we are.
Yeah, no, I'm still here.
owners.
Like yeah, we're still here, equal owner. We're chilling. We're just trying to make the channel as best and more. How can we say? We want to be more informative. We want to be more creative. We want
the best
to
it
bring
possibly
something
can be, I'd say.
special. Yeah, we want to bring something special to you guys, and
Free Badaki.
that's really it.
I love it. We appreciate y'all for being here, and you know what? Here's what I'll say. We are going to give you a chance to get into this mock draft. All right. We will do super flex to start, and maybe we will change it up to one quarterback. I think we will do at max 2, and then we'll do some team reviews. But if people want to join today's mock draft, Badaki, they want to get into this rookie mock draft, how can they go about doing so?
Yeah, guys, join that Discord as always, whether it's rookie mock drafts or, you know, rookie mock draft, free draft mock drafts, you know, Dynasty startups, whatever the case may be. Join that Discord. That link is in the chat. That's also in the description. Go to the the Fantasyland tab with the orange footballs, and then go to announcements. That's exactly where you can see each and every mock draft in this tab here. So once again, join our Discord, Fantasyland with the orange footballs. Go to announcements. And that's exactly where you can see that link or get that link to join mock drafts here. What I'll end up doing is I'll let them draft. So there'll be an extra spot in this draft here, and then we can kind of talk through some of these players. So I don't know if you want to send that link, or you can send that link to me, and I can send it out however way you want to go.
Yeah, all right, good point. I'll go ahead and send it here in 3, 2, 1. It is first come, first serve. We'll be doing these a lot this offseason, but
maybe
of course,
I'll just play the role and jump in.
Yeah, you might as well. I mean, it's, there's no better way to learn than to start having these conversations. But yeah, we'll be doing these mock drafts throughout the offseason. It's obviously the most exciting at this point because everyone has different, ideas of what the class can look like. And a lot of people scout on their own and they'll have a certain opinion on certain players. And we can kind of all come together and have these really fun in-depth conversations. And I'm excited because here's what I'll say before we even start. I genuinely believe that this class, more than any other class I have ever covered in Dynasty, I think there's more room for differences of opinion than ever before. And it's not like from the 107 onwards, Badaki. In my opinion, from the 102 onwards, I think you could put 7 players there. I'm being dead ass serious when I say that.
Sure.
And I don't know if everyone agrees with me, and that's okay if some people don't. But I truly believe the 102, there's like a 7-player tier that I would put in that spot. I don't think it's locked and loaded on one player like a lot of people do. You could go 3 different positions as well. That's what's crazy. It could be 7 different players at 3 different positions. And I'm very excited to talk through it. We did release our rookie rankings, Superflex rookie rankings today, just about 2 hours ago. So if you're curious to see my tiers, they're up there, but we'll talk through it a lot on today's video as well. And this will be I'll say this from the beginning, all right? Warning. This will be a longer, in-depth mock draft. Some people like that, some people don't. But I'm telling you exactly how it's going to go. I'm going to pause the draft sometimes. We're going to have in-depth conversations about some of these players. If that's not what you're looking for, I'm sorry. But in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, or when we're back in January, we will have these quicker mock drafts where we're getting through them really fast. But right here, right now, we're going to have a lot of in-depth conversations. So here's how today's mock is going to work. First off, this is a Superflex PPR tight end premium. Let's just say like 0.5. All right. Superflex PPR tight end premium. And all you need to do is pick a kicker if you're in the draft with me. And then in the chat of the sleeper chat, tell me what name it is. And don't worry, we'll make some magic happen and we'll make that player appear. Baby. So without further ado, our first ever live stream for the 2025 Dynasty rookie class. Let's get this thing started in 3, 2, 1. There are 2 minutes on the clock. You can take as much time as you like. You can go as quick as you like. I'll pause it as I see fit in order to have these really constructive conversations about each player. Now, I have an idea of who the number 1 is going to be. Let's have Selmo go ahead and confirm it for us here. But I have a really good feeling that we all know that this is going to be one Ashton Genty. Let's go ahead and, yes. So we'll put Ashton Genty on the board. Ashton Genty, for me, is in a tier of his own in this class. It's kind of how I viewed the Bijan Robinson class at this point of the season. He truly is an elite prospect in my mind. I don't see many, if any, flaws in his game. I think the one thing, Badaki, that a lot of people have question marks on right now is his receiving profile. And I think the people who have those questions are, they're only looking at this year. Because this year he was very focused on the ground. He had over 2,000 rushing yards, right? Went ridiculous. What a lot of people don't know is that he actually made a bet with his team. He said, if I don't get 2,000 yards, I'll cut my hair off. I'll cut my hair off. He takes a lot of identity, in his hair. Yeah. So it was a clear goal for him to hit that 2K mark on the ground. And if you look just last year, he led all running backs in receiving yardage. All right. I think it was over 500 receiving yards. And last year for Ashton Genty, in that single season, it was more receiving yards than any season from Bijan Robinson, than any season from Jahmyr Gibbs. Point blank, period. So I think that's a concern some people have. The other concern is competition. Well, if you see him against Oregon this year, he had almost 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, over 7.5 yards per carry. So I don't think competition's a good excuse either not to take him at the 101. To me, he's the clear-cut 101.
Sure. And I completely understand. And obviously, I know a little bit about Ashton. Obviously, he's clearly one of the best running backs. But one of the things I would say is, keep in mind, yes, the NFL has changed. But we've seen some running backs that don't, even in PPR formats. I mean, think about just 2-3 years ago, you were still drafting Nick Chubb in at the end of the first round.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is Dynasty, right? But we're thinking about in a redraft perspective, you were probably still drafting him because of all that workload he was getting on the ground, those opportunities he was getting on the ground. So I don't think the pass catching opportunities that you're mentioning is going to be something that we should be worrying in the long term, especially depending on the offense that he does go to. Which,
no, and he's a fantastic pass catcher as well. So it just it shouldn't be a concern, I don't think. I'm going to agree with you there. All right, at the 102, we're going to and like I said at the beginning of the stream, I think you could put 7 players at the 102. I truly think it's that wide open this year. So personally, I don't think this is crazy what this person's just done. And the player that they chose to take here is Caleb Johnson, running back out of Iowa. Have you heard much about Caleb? Do you have any opinions on it? Do you have any, questions as we're here? Because I don't think this is crazy. I think the majority of people's 102 right now is Tet McMillan. I've heard a lot of people say you have to have him at the 102. He has to be locked in there. I don't feel that way. Caleb Johnson's a complete prospect, man. He's a special prospect. He'd be the number 1 running back in last year's class easily. Wouldn't even be close.
Yeah, I don't know much about Caleb Johnson. What I will say is that I know that the running back class is pretty deep, so I wouldn't be surprised if people start to go out and get some of these running backs because they know that it might potentially either be slim pickings at the end, depending on where they do go. But if Caleb Johnson goes, I mean, I'm not sure where he's projected to go. Is he? And it's projected to go in the first round.
I think he has a chance to go late first. If one of those teams really want to, kind of hit a home run on a running back, and that's the missing piece, I think he could go late first. He doesn't get past the second round. There's no way he gets past the second round.
Okay, so yeah.
Yeah, he's a special player, guys. I mean, he sits at 6 foot, 225 pounds. And if you guys know anything about college football, you will know how terrible Iowa's offense has been for a long time, all right? And this season, Caleb Johnson pretty much took them out of the trenches with their offense. I mean, if you look at the years 2022 and 2023, they were, out of 134 teams, they were 117th or worse in offensive points per game. This year, they were 51st, huge improvement, over 28 points per game. He was a big reason as to why. These stats are only up until week, I think, 11, but at that point, he had, I think, 7.1 yards per carry, 20 rushing touchdowns. He had the number 1 breakaway percentage. He's great through contact. We've got a pile mover. He's got special burst at his size, hits the lane with conviction, and also hits the edge with conviction. He's just a very special player. I know people love these comps. They love like this range of outcome. To me, if you guys remember back to Larry Johnson, I see a lot of Larry Johnson from the Chiefs, and I also see a lot of Nick Chubb in this player as well. I think he's a better pass catcher than Nick Chubb was, but I think somewhere in between there, you'll see Caleb Johnson. Now, Caleb is my RB3 in the class today, but I think he could be RB2. He's that good of a player for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right, let's move on to the 103. And while we are waiting for Brizzleton to make his pick, I'll try and address the chat here. Someone says they're big on Hampton. I love him too. We'll see where he goes. Is Scatabo on your radar? Yes, he is. In fact, I've been like very intentional this year, guys. If you haven't noticed, I've been very intentional on my Twitter to bring film to you guys, to try and break down some all-22 film or just show you some things. For example, Cam Ward. I have some qualms with Cam Ward, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but I've been posting a lot of film over there, all right? So I got some stuff about Cam Ward. Cam Scatabo I actually covered. I talked about a comp. I showed you guys some film, some all-22 film. So yeah, we're being very intentional, trying, even Luther Burden, that kind of stuff. Tet McMillan.
Yeah.
Trying to give you guys a little bit of the behind the scenes there. But Brizzleton Jones says, making me have to take McMillan, but I want to take Sanders. Okay, so
Was that your pick?
Yeah, he's here at the 103. Okay. So at the 103, we will have the majority of people's 102 right now. That is Tet McMillan. He comes off the board. Another player that I think can go as high as the 102 or as low as the 107 range. Like, I truly think there's this huge tier. But yeah, for most people, Badaki, this is their wide receiver 1.
The wide receiver 1. Yeah.
I'm not sure how much research you've done on it, but yeah.
Yeah, I know a little bit about Tech. I know he's a big body wide receiver. Um, it just depends on the landing spot, and I think that's what's going to happen. Like you keep saying, the majority of these, what from picks 1 to 7, 107, it's all going to depend on potentially landing spot. And I think if Tech goes to a landing spot that we're not in love with, we can easily see some of these running backs get pushed up the board here. If he goes to a team that is already stacked. I mean, obviously we weren't expecting the Colts to draft one last year, but then they take Adonai Mitchell. What if he goes to a situation like that, which he just gets dropped? But yeah, no, Ted McMillan, I do like him. I would say that I don't know where he will be exactly in my 101 in the wide receiver room, but I know there's 3 guys that you like there, which is interesting.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we have Omarion Hampton coming out at the 104 here. I am a huge fan of Omarion. Sea breeze. Yeah, Omarion's, dude, he's everything you want in a running back prospect and more. Truly, I don't see a weakness in this guy's game outside of one area in particular. I think he's an absolute complete back outside of the elusiveness in the open field. That's the only thing I don't see. Like this one-on-one, make your man miss, that special lateral agility, this plant, cut, put your ass in the hospital with your ankles being broken. Like he doesn't have that necessarily. He's not the most elusive guy, but everything else he has, right? I mean, as a true freshman, his first game, he ran for over 100 yards. He was the first player in North Carolina to do that since 1946. We have another example of a contact, balance, break tackle king, similar to what we were talking about with Caleb Johnson. He led the nation in yards after contact in 2023. For his size, and this is what I've noticed about both Caleb and Omarion, like these 2 guys, for their size, you almost do a double check on their height and weight. You almost go back and you're like, okay, because I'm watching the All-22 and I'm like, okay, is this guy 200? Are we sure this guy's 225 pounds? Let me go back and double check. It's like, wow, at that size, he's moving that quick. It's really special. It really is. And he's a great pass catcher as well. He was intentionally used as a pass catcher, had a good amount of usage there, had 31 receptions. If you know much about college football, that's a big amount of receptions, almost 300 yards.
Sure.
He's got everything you want in a profile. I see James Conner. I see a lot of James Conner. I see some Leonard Fournette in his game, and I think he's going to be a special player.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's going to be interesting to see. I'm interested to see how many of these running backs, obviously we won't know that until the draft, are going to be paired with another running back and be like a 1-2 punch. I want to see how many teams are going to be going to that 1-2 punch category, because I feel like we're getting really hyped about these guys. And then then we're going to really have to dissect, okay, what is this usage going to be for some of these running backs? Because I think that our hearts are going to be broken a little bit for some of these guys that we know can just lead that backfield regardless.
Yeah, big time. At the 105, we have our first quarterback coming off the board, and that is Shedeur Sanders. This was my quarterback 1 before the season for this class. And he's still my quarterback 1 today. I think if you're going to take a quarterback in the top 7, I think Shedeur is the only one I would take there. But look, a question that often people want to know the answer to, they'll ask Badaki, like, okay, how about last year? They always want to think, well, compare the class to last year. So as we talked to you guys about a bunch last year, we mentioned that last year's class was a potentially historic quarterback class, and it's looking like that way. I don't feel that way at all about this class. I think there's only one quarterback that should go in the first round, and I don't have a top 10 grade on any quarterback in this class. Now, what I will say about Shedeur Sanders is if you want this middle of the pack, distributor, accuracy, ball placement type of quarterback, then that's probably what you're going to get for Shedeur Sanders. I don't personally believe that he is going to change Dynasty. I don't see a quarterback in this class, and I could be wrong, but at this moment, I don't see a quarterback in this class where the next year you're ranking him as the quarterback 1 overall, like people are wanting to do with Jaden Daniels this year, and these type of names. But if you were to put him into last year's class, I would put Shedeur as my quarterback 7. So I would put him behind Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, J.J. McCarthy, and Michael Penix. So he'd be at 7. But that sounds bad, but it's not, because last year's class was historically good. So that's where he would kind of land for me. I have like a mid to late first round grade on Shedeur Sanders.
And that's without like context, correct?
Exactly.
That was before you knew how these guys were playing.
Exactly. Before I knew where they were being drafted, before I knew what type of draft capital they got, just purely based off of scouting grades, he would have been my quarterback 7. But yeah, I personally think he's the perfect fit for your Giants. I don't think he's worthy of a top 3 pick, but you got to draft a quarterback at some point. So I think you guys probably will take him if he's there. He's the perfect distributor. He is like this Tua Tags. He's this Brock Purdy. He's this game manager plus type of profile. Kind of same profile that I said last year for Bo Nix, if you remember. I compared him a lot to Brock Purdy. So I think he's kind of a similar profile. He doesn't offer you real... look, he can extend plays, but he's not going to be a rushing quarterback. This is not a guy that, you know, you're going to rely on 50 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown each and every game. It's just not going to happen. But he's more like the C.J. Stroud as far as how he gets fantasy points. But I don't think he's a C.J. Stroud level prospect. But yeah, I mean, look, if he goes top 3 like everyone predicts, of course you're going to have to take him high in a super flex draft.
Yeah, look, when it comes down to Shedeur, and Shedeur specifically the Giants, I'm not necessarily sure if I would want that. And I've been we've been talking behind the scenes is like, do you just want a middle of the pack quarterback, or you can go out and get a Kirk Cousins, but you have to pay him $107 million? I'm not necessarily sure.
Darnold.
Or Sam Darnold. Yeah, exactly. Or Sam Darnold. Like I don't know if I want that as a Giants fan, but I can understand it. Now, do we pick Shedeur and then he doesn't work out and then we get another quarterback in 2026? Sure. I think, not saying I would want this, but I don't know if it's better to go the Cam Ward side, to where his ceiling might be even higher than Shedeur's, but his floor is significantly lower potentially. So
I won't say anything about Cam Ward yet. We'll wait for someone to draft him before I go crazy. But yeah, it'll be fun to watch. It definitely will be fun to watch. Yeah, like I said, I think Shedeur is like he's going to distribute the ball. He's your point guard. He's your point guard profile.
Sure.
I don't think he's a bad prospect at all. I'm just not obsessed with him. All right, here at the 106, we get my wide receiver 1 coming off the board because I'm drafting. So he comes off the board there. Luther Burden, my wide receiver 1, but I do think like that top tier, there's like 3 wide receivers there for me. Tet, Luther, and another name, which we'll talk about. I think they're all in that same tier. I think they all could be wide receiver 1, depending on landing spot. I think way too many people are discounting Luther Burden. Like truly, if you're a spreadsheet guy and you're super obsessed with the analytics and the stats, you're not going to like Luther Burden, and you're just going to say, well, he didn't produce. But if you're a film guy, you'll fall in love with the guy. You can't put Luther Burden's film on and not fall in love with him. That does not happen. We're looking at like a JSN and Deebo Samuel had a baby type of player. That's the type of profile you're getting with Luther Burden. There's a little Rashee Rice after the catch. I have zero doubts that this kid is going to be one of the best yak players in the NFL from day one. He will be like a top 5 to 6 yak player in the NFL from day one. He is a special athlete. I don't know why people keep talking about him being his speed being poor. I don't think, like, it's not a concern to me personally. I don't know why people are concerned about it. If you watch the film, you see him burning people down the field. I think he's a special player. People keep putting him into this gadget role, but not understanding how Missouri's offense works. They keep saying, well, Ted McMillan had a bad quarterback and he still produced. But Aki, can I say something? That, sure. with respect to everybody out there, that is the dumbest argument you can make for Tet over Luther. I can think of 100 good arguments you can make. But if your argument, and this is okay if it is, but let's reframe. If your argument is, I can't draft Luther Burden because Tet McMillan had bad quarterback play and he produced. Respectfully, my friend, that is the dumbest argument you could possibly make. Because you're completely throwing out the context that Tet McMillan is playing with this high school quarterback. He's been playing with this guy for almost a decade. That's the type of chemistry you cannot reproduce anywhere else. And of course, if you're playing with your high school quarterback, your best friend, he's going to target you 10 times a game. It's the stupidest argument I've heard. And again, like I'm saying this genuinely, you can make so many good arguments why you want Tet McMillan over Luther Burden. That is the dumbest one you could possibly make. By far, easily.
So what is, I know you have them 1A, 1B, and what gives him just that slight edge? Is it just the yards after the catch type vibe? Is it just his gameplay? Like what separates them for you just that little bit?
I think it's the route running. That's really, like, I am a sucker for a really good route runner and someone who can do something after the catch. That's why I fell in love with JSN, labeled him a can't miss prospect back in that class. And I feel kind of similarly about Luther Burden here.
Yeah.
And I get why people are like frustrated when it comes to, well, we don't see him in this role that I want to see him in the NFL, as if he has any control over that. But there's this narrative out there that he's like, we don't know if he can run routes. Like, I want to say this respectfully, guys. If anyone is out there telling you we don't know if he's a good route runner, they haven't watched enough film. That's the honest to God's truth. If they say we don't know if he can win at the line of scrimmage, we don't know if he can beat press coverage. If you don't know that answer, you haven't watched enough film. And again, I'm saying this respectfully, like, because these are the type of things that I keep hearing, and it's just, like, respectfully, it's just not true. Like, you're just not watching the same player I'm watching, or I'm an idiot, and that's also a possibility. But I think that's where it comes down to. Tet wins with size, speed, and leverage, but he is not a advanced route runner. His routes are very rounded off, but you can still win like that in the NFL if you are absolutely elite at the catch point. Think Mike Evans. Right, Mike Evans is a perfect comp.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, I've definitely seen Tet, and I remember when Drake London came in, and I remember the first time you and I sat down, and we were like, "Do you like Drake London?" And we were like, "Oh, no, we don't really like it." And then everyone in the community was like, "Dude, Drake London's the shit."
Oh yeah.
And then people were like, "Wait, are we wrong about this?" And we had to rewatch.
Yeah.
And I think we catered to like that middle range wide receiver. I think that's what's our favorite. We like that 5'10" to 6'1" that can move a little bit more fluently, and not, it doesn't matter. Sure, you can do the contested catch. That's not how the NFL works right now. You have that in some of these players, but it is going to be interesting to see where Tet is going to go with his size, because
Tet isn't bad after the catch, by the way, but I don't think he's like a transformational yak player. I don't know why people say that. For his size and speed, absolutely. Like, he's like, at his size, speed, when you consider what he does after the catch, sure, you can say it's really nice, but to say like that's going to be his calling card, I don't agree with that. I don't think he has like special suddenness personally, but he is going to win outside. I don't know how many yak opportunities he even gets. Like, they're going to play him as an X alpha, and there's nothing wrong with that. But like, I don't think it's going to be a calling card for him. But yeah. Anyway, look, Tet could be my wide receiver 1 at the end of the day. He could be my wide receiver 3. All I'm asking people is, don't be so stuck on knowing that answer today. You don't have to know that answer right now, right here. And I think like the floor for Tet, if we want to go there, is like someone just put it in the chat. Actually, it's a Mike Williams type of player. That is the floor. And we did not say the same thing about Brian Thomas, Astamel. If you think we said the same thing about Brian Thomas, you were not watching this channel. No. There was no one higher on Brian Thomas than us this time last year. Respectfully, all right? But
that's actually so true. We actually was like, shit, dude, I think we have him way too high.
Yes. When we first
wasn't the case.
Brought our rankings, we were like, no one has him this high. What's going on? What are we missing? But yeah, no, I don't think Brian Thomas and Tet are a good. Like, these guys, the comparison is nowhere near. The fluidity of a Brian Thomas, I'm sorry, Tet does not fit that range whatsoever. Anyway, I think we've talked enough about those wide receivers, and let's move on. So the next pick here at the 107 is going to be Cam Ward. So
there you go.
Can I just say, like, from a logistic perspective, I understand why he's going to get drafted this high in Superflex drafts. Because if all the mock drafts are telling you he's going to be a top 3 pick, how are you going to let a top 3 pick in a Superflex draft fall any further than this?
Yeah.
If you put Cam Ward in last year's class, I don't think he goes in the first round. I don't even think it's close. I'm sorry. I think he is at best an early second round pick. And my evaluation, my comp kind of reflects that. I think at best, this is Jordan Love. And meaning you're going to have to let the guy develop for at least a year or two. Right?
I was going to say, Jordan Love is nice. What you mean?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, if you put Jordan Love as a starter from day one out of Utah State, it wouldn't have looked nice. I promise you that. It took him a while to really develop that mental, cerebral part of the game. But for Cam Ward, all of the athletic traits, the arm talent, it's all there. But the decision making, and I say this with a ton of respect meant, but probably not going to be felt, the decision making is the worst I've seen of any quarterback that's projected to be a top 10 pick since I started scouting. By far, easily, the worst decision making I've ever seen from a projected top 10 quarterback in the NFL draft. It's genuinely frustrating to watch. I was not more frustrated watching any other player, and I have not been further from consensus on any other player than Cam Ward in this draft. And if you're really curious to see my opinion on that and some film behind it, what I did, Badaki, is I actually put a clip over on Twitter. And if you want to watch this later, be my guest. I'll spam it in the chat for you. But there are some serious question marks on this guy's decision making. And I'm not so sure that the mental part of his game is there. He's got wide open wide receivers. Like, for example, I don't think I'll be demonetized for showing you guys this. Let me just quickly show you this, this clip here as an example, okay? So, obviously in shotgun formation. And what I want to show you guys here is you'll see his first read is out left, and then he will have Xavier Restrepo open in the middle of the field. He's seeing him. He doesn't hit him. He's also got number 8 open, who's about to cross over this middle of the field. He's not going to see him either. He's got 2 wide receivers that are open, and he's looking at them, and he's got a very clean pocket, but he decides to roll out on this play. And he does this all the time. Like, it's riddled all over his film, him rolling out of a clean pocket and trying to play hero ball. It's really confusing. I just don't understand some of the decisions that he made. I really don't think that NFL teams, when they watch the film, are going to think he's a day one starter. I think this is a project, and it's tough to say that because we've got a 5th-year senior, Badaki. This is not Anthony Richardson stepping into the NFL. And, I mean, look at all the raw traits. Look at the athleticism. He's so young. He's got barely any experience. That is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a 5th-year senior. This man has played a ton of college ball. And he is still making mistakes that you would coach out of a high schooler. I mean, versus Cal, the man threw across his body on the opposite side of the field into triple coverage, and it was the weirdest pick 6 I've ever seen. It was crazy. So,
yeah, I mean,
the upside is there, but I think there's huge bust potential that no one's talking about. Like in all these mock drafts, people are like, yeah, he's going to be the guy for the Giants day one. I'm like, if you put this man behind that offensive line day one, respectfully, this man's going to bust in year 1.
Yeah, look, I think when it comes out to Cam Ward, and once again, you know a lot more than me, I think a lot of it is going to come down to landing spot. I think a lot of people are going to be intrigued if he goes to the Giants with Malik Neighbors. A lot of people are going to be intrigued if he does go to the Raiders with Brock Bowers. It's going to pick your poison. And a lot of that is also going to depend on head coach, right? Like, are the Giants going to get a new head coach? We know the Raiders are most likely going to get a new head coach and GM. I don't know the in-depths. But like you said, if you draft a quarterback right now and we say Cam Ward is going to sit for 1 year and you are saying he could potentially be Jordan Love, are you still taking Shedeur Sanders right now or are you taking Cam Ward?
Shedeur Sanders, because what people fail to realize, and we talk about this every single year, and every single year it's true, and every single year people ignore it, is you don't just think about what is this player worth in 4 years from now. You think, from 1 year from now, what will this player's worth be? Because that's why we have trading in Dynasty football, right? And in my opinion, from 1 year from now, Shedeur Sanders is going to have more value than Cam Ward. But I have never, Badaki, like the last, you know this, the last time I've been that openly, outwardly out on a quarterback, when was the last time in a class? If you remember.
Will Levis.
Will Levis. That was the last time I was outwardly super out on a quarterback. I have not taken that stance in a long time. I've taken stances on being in on quarterbacks like Jaden Daniels last year, but that was the last time. I didn't want to do this. I don't want to put my integrity of what I do on the line for this guy, but I'm really confused why no one's talking about it. Anyway.
Yeah. No, look, yeah, it's going to be interesting. He could be a giant, and I'm going to be okay with it.
Yeah. All right, so we do have our next pick. I'm not gonna lie, this is very shocking to me. I'm shocked, but we'll talk about it. This is why we do this. This is why we have fun and have these conversations. Trey Harris is the next player drafted here. Trey Harris out of Ole Miss. Look, I think this is a very fun project player. I really do. I think there's a lot of traits that you see that you're like, wow, I mean, that could definitely translate to the next level. I mean, last year's class was completely full of all of these size speed athletes, right? Well, Trey Harris fits that bill to a T. He's 6'3", 210. He's a ridiculously fluid athlete, size, speed, but he has the widest range of outcomes in this class at the wide receiver position easily, okay? And the concern for me, if you look at the analytics, they're all good, but the concern for me is twofold. Number one, we are seeing a lot of these concentration drops, and at his size, with his speed, I am getting flashbacks to Christian Watson. That's concerning to me. Now, the size speed is there. We all knew what the upside of a Christian Watson was, but we all knew his flaws. The other thing that's a little bit concerning is his route tree is very limited, and this is something that absolutely a player can grow with over time. People didn't draft George Pickens because of his route tree. I love George Pickens. I thought there was a great baseline to work with there, and this is actually one of my comps for Trey Harris. A ceiling comp is like a George Pickens type of player at best, but maybe even more, it'll give you a little bit more after the catch. But here's what I'll say. 80 to 90% of his routes are these simple 6 to 7 yards, come back to the ball type of route. All right. They're not inspiring. This is not, you don't put this tape on to teach someone how to route run, for example. Okay. The other route that he runs really well is the go route. All right. So it's the 6 to 7, come back to the ball. All right. I got you, quarterback. Or it's I'm just going to beat my guy down the field with speed. There's not nuance there yet. That doesn't mean it can't be there. He's a very fluid athlete. But to take him at the 108, I think is a little bit of hopium at this point. But we are very early, and I've encouraged you guys to keep an open mind, so I'll keep an open mind. I'll say this. George Pickens, Christian Watson are some comps, but I think you got a floor of like a Jonathan Mingo, Quentin Johnston type of player. So I think that's more of a mid to late second round pick rather than a first round pick in Superflex drafts, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know too much about Trey. If I'm not mistaken, we did scout him. I don't remember. I was trying to find if I had on my scouting report.
Last year.
But I think we did try and scout him last year, and then we realized he went back to school. So maybe it was one of the guys we had on the list and then realized he was going back. But very interesting play out of Ole Miss. I mean, you know me, I like the Elijah Moores of the world. So I have a little soft spot for all the Ole Miss wide receivers. So we'll wait and see.
I do like wide receivers out of Ole Miss too, for sure. I mean, they're always producing these really special athletes. I actually thought Juice Wells was going to be a name we'd be talking about at this point of the season, but he has just completely fallen off. All right, at the 109, I really like this player. I know you like this player. You'll definitely have something to say, and we both will. It's Emeka Egbuka. He comes off the board here. One of our favorite players in last year's class, who ended up coming back to school. I don't really know. In fact, I feel confident in saying I don't think it helped him. Like, I don't feel like this is going to improve his draft capital. It's a weaker class. I still don't know that he's a lock for the first round. I think he's a first round talent, but I don't think going back helped him at all.
Yeah, I don't think going back helped him either, but I'm not necessarily sure. I think I'm just thinking of wide receivers that went in the first round last year. Like, we were taking Emeka over the lads, over the Keon Coleman's, who went in the first, over Xavier Legette. Well, Keon Coleman didn't go in the first, but you get what I'm saying. We would have taken him over Xavier Worthy in the first. Like, that's how talented, at least we thought he was. He probably would have been end of the first type of wide receiver. I think he can definitely still sneak in to the first and be one of these type of great wide receivers that can help, like
he's not a wide receiver 1, he's a wide receiver 2 at best.
Is, yeah, and that is kind of my concern, because is this just going to be like a Jordan Addison type of situation, which I hate.
Not as a player, but as a situation, you're saying. I get that.
Yeah, exactly.
The difference is hopefully a slot guy is going to get those manufactured touches. Here's what I'll say just quickly. You guys remember Jason? I was obsessed with, loved him as a prospect coming out. Here's the problem. Egbuka is a slot exclusive player, most likely in the NFL. Sure, he can win outside, but he's probably slot exclusive. There's nothing wrong with that as a prospect. Like, I love Luther Burden, but the problem is
Washington.
Sorry,
I said get him to Washington.
Yeah, exactly.
Get him
right.
in the slot.
He'd be perfect. But the problem is, if you're a slot exclusive player and you're not special after the catch, that's where I have my concerns. You want your slot receiver to be this dynamic after the catch type of player, ideally, especially if you're going to take them in the first round. You don't take a first round wide receiver who's a slot player if he doesn't have this really special after the catch type of ability. And that's where I think Egbuka potentially lacks. I don't think he's a special athlete. I don't think he's the same yak player that JSN was coming out. I think he's a really good number 2. I think at best you're looking at like a Robert Woods. Remember how good Robert Woods was as a secondary piece in that Rams offense? I think that is probably at best what you're looking at. But the floor is much lower than that. So yeah, I think he's a fine option, but I do have my concerns overall about like his ceiling. I just don't know that he's ever a top 20 wide receiver in Dynasty. It's kind of, Jordan Addison is actually a fantastic like conversation point there. We liked him, but is Jordan Addison ever going to be a top 20 wide receiver? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I get it. We love the.
You don't have to be great after the catch as an outside receiver. You don't have to have that quality. I do feel like you need to have that quality as a slot, mostly exclusive player, especially translating to the NFL.
Yeah, I completely agree. We love you though. Unlucky.
I do love him. I think there are other players I'm a little bit more obsessed with, but we do have our next pick here. I love this player. I can understand why this draft is going the way it is, but I guess there's a conversation to be had here soon. Travion Henderson comes off the board. I love Travion Henderson. I think a lot of people are discounting his rushing abilities because Quinshon Judkins is there. There's this narrative kind of right now that's going around that, well, you know what? Because Quinshon Judkins was there, they didn't trust him. I don't believe that to be true at all. I think this is a special player. I think this is a player who could completely break fantasy football. Aaron Jones type of level of player. I'm a big fan of his game, and I think people are discounting him too much. And if you remember, when Quinshon Judkins committed to Ohio State, my test for him was, okay, now that he's splitting touches, can he be more efficient than he's ever been? And that's pretty much what happened from an analytical profile perspective. So, I like him.
Yeah, which makes sense. We like Travion Henderson. We didn't think it would help him going back to school last year, and he ended up doing it. And then Quinshon Judkins is giving him, splitting that backfield, which kind of sucked. So,
speaking of Quinshon Judkins, he is the next player off the board. I'm definitely lower on Judkins than the average Dynasty people. I don't really look at anyone's content until I finish scouting. And looking around, I would say pretty confidently I'm a little bit lower on consensus around him. I think we're all, and this happens a lot in Dynasty because a lot of people play Devy. I think we're all a little bit too obsessed with thinking back to his freshman season and kind of putting that expectations on him to be this first round pick, to be this true 3-down workhorse, special elite type of player. Through contact, he's great. I think he's a great goal line back. Whatever the offensive line gives him, I think he excels with. But he doesn't have game-changing speed, which that's not a big problem for me. But he's not very elusive. He lacks really any creativity. I don't think he processes behind the line of scrimmage as quick as a Travion Henderson does. His production decreased each and every single year. And for his calling card to be strength, and for his yards after contact per attempt to be so mid, it's a little bit confusing. But people are saying he's a special athlete. I just don't know that I agree. I think he's a fine athlete. I think he's a, for example, the way we felt about David Montgomery. Is David Montgomery an elite athlete? No. But can he play the running back position well? Yes, absolutely. But is David Montgomery an elite athlete? No. So I think that is a ceiling for a Quinshon Judkins, kind of what David Montgomery offers a team. I think there's a little Kareem Hunt. I've seen a lot of Joe Mixon comps. I just don't understand that because Joe Mixon coming out of Oklahoma was a freaking monster. So yeah, I don't think I'll be as high on Judkins as the average person, but draft capital could change that with the historical hit rates.
Yeah, I completely understand. Once again, don't know too much about Quinshon. I know you had him really high, if I'm not mistaken, coming into last year.
I did, yeah. I was disappointed, to be honest.
That kind of fell off, yeah. All right, at the 112 here, maybe we'll end it in the first round. I'm a bit surprised that this guy's not off the board. You guys let me know, maybe because we don't know if he's going to be a wide receiver or cornerback, but Travis Hunter.
Yeah, I was.
You let me know what you think, because I thought he would surely be off the board. He just won the Heisman, but if he does go into the league as a wide receiver, then surely we are drafting him.
Oh yeah, I'll say this with 100% confidence. If he declares as a wide receiver, he will be my wide receiver 1. It won't be close either. He will be my wide receiver 1 if he declares as a wide receiver.
Okay.
But Aki, I can't wait for you to scout this player. Specifically as a wide receiver, my friend, when I say I have never seen a player, I don't care what position they play, I have never seen a player, and I've only been scouting 5 years, with the ball skills that Travis Hunter has. Never. That includes last year's class. I believe with strong conviction, he has better ball skills than any wide receiver in the 2024 class, and that looks like a historically great class. The things this man does, it's honestly mind-blowing. I can't express how impressive it is. Add on to the fact that he's a pretty good route runner. There's definitely some nuance there. He's good after the catch. And there is an argument for him to declare as a wide receiver. The argument is, well, wide receivers' careers last longer, specifically in their prime. You can get maybe an extra contract if you're thinking long-term future for a wide receiver. You're not seeing 28-year-old cornerbacks getting these big, huge bags, right? And the wide receiver position in general is garnering more money from the get-go anyway. Your first contract, if you're elite at the position at wide receiver, you're going to get paid more than the number 1 cornerback. That's just a fact. We know that. And
yeah, but I think he has to be. I think the only reason. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
but I feel the only reason I feel like that's a little bit on edge is because you have to be elite. You have to put yourself.
He is
Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, and I don't know much, right? Keep in mind, guys, I haven't scouted these guys. Is he going? Can he be the Jeffersons, the CDs, the chases to get that money, or does he can just be a good low-end wide receiver, middle of the pack in the league?
How much is Jalen Waddle making right now? How much is Devonta Smith making right now? These guys are making money like they're an alpha, right? I mean, that's a great point because it's the nature of the league that we are in. Wide receivers get paid, even if you're a very good number 2, you get paid like you're a number 1. And I think one thing I'll say, Badaki, just to finish on Travis Hunter, what a lot of people, I don't think they're thinking it through just yet. And again, this is all based on if he declares as a wide receiver. If he declares as a wide receiver, think about it. It will be the first time in his life he's been able to completely dedicate his time to improving at that position. Imagine, this man averaged 118 snaps per game last year. Ted McMillan was at 60. Luther Burden was at 45. Imagine if you completely lose all those snaps, you stop going to cornerback meetings, you stop thinking about how to get better as a cornerback, and all of your time and effort goes into improving as a wide receiver. I don't think this is crazy to say. He could be a top 5 receiver in the NFL if he committed strictly to the wide receiver position. If he declared as a wide receiver, he would be my 102 locked and loaded in this class.
Next point then. What if he does declare as a wide receiver and then during training camp, we still want to get him 10, 15, 20 snaps on defense too. Does that change it? Does that change? Like if you know that going in before you draft him, does that change that for you?
Absolutely.
Because
if he's going to try and play both ways, I can't draft him that high. Nowhere near. I can't. Because I don't even think it logistically makes sense. Think about it. When do the cornerbacks have their meetings? Probably the same time as the wide receivers. These positional groups, they don't plan their positional group meetings around the other position groups. It doesn't make sense. Every position has its own head coach, their own game plan. So I don't think he's going to be able to play both ways. Maybe he tries to. But if he does, then there's absolutely no way I'm drafting him at the 102. No way.
I think that's going to be something that we would never know until we draft him. That's going to be a risk. I don't think.
I think we will know before the draft.
You think so?
I think we will.
If Travis Hunter
that's going to
goes
be
the
his
Patriots-
question. What is the number one question he'll be asked for the next 4 months?
Well, I mean, he's saying it now. I'm listening to it because people. I think he just did it on Pivot podcast. I forgot or something. He was like, "What do you want to do?" He was like, "I want to play both. If I can play both, I want to do that."
You should go watch Amon-Ra St. Brown's podcast with Richard Sherman because they said, "Sherm, can he play both?" He said, "Hell no." You know he can't play both.
I've seen that. He's like, you can't play both because what? You're going to play 10, 15 snaps on offense. You're going to get a 90-yard bomb. And then you gotta go and...
it's a nightmare. Just from a logistic perspective. I'm not talking about talent. From a logistic perspective, it's a genuine nightmare to think about.
I just think it's a lot of wear and tear on his body. I don't want that,
Yeah, and that makes total sense. But again, if he declares as a wide receiver, I don't think people realize how special he can be. I truly don't. I think... There's a lot of hate because of the Heisman. There's a lot of people, I think with respectfully to Big B, I'm sure you're really good at being part of the community and being here. I don't want you to feel bad, but I think Jameson Williams is a terrible comp. I don't even think that's close to what he could be. And I was obsessed with Jameson Williams. These are the type of comps I'm seeing though. People are really lowballing his floor and his ceiling comps. I think he has a talent to be a top 5 receiver in the NFL if he commits to the position. Genuinely, I do.
Okay. Look, it's interesting. I'm interested to watch the film for sure, and that's why I took him here. Obviously, I took him at the 112. I think that's why people are hesitant.
Totally,
and
that makes sense.
Take him.
I get it.
Yeah, I would take him over.
You know what?
100%.
In an IDP exclusive league, guy's a cheat code.
101.
Probably.
101.
How is he not the 101 in an IDP league? Anyway, that is the first round. Here's what we'll do for the second round. We're going to quick fire through it because I do want to get to the second round, but we're going to quick fire through this. I won't have as in-depth conversations about it. I appreciate y'all being here. Almost 300 of you watching now. That's awesome.
Yeah,
appreciate the love. Appreciate the support. Do us a favor and smash that like button. We got a like goal today of 100 likes. With your help, I think we can get there. You guys are awesome. Appreciate the love and the support. This is a Superflex PPR rookie mock draft. And at the 201, this is where we see our first tight end off the board. And I love it. Personally, this is my tight end one. And I think he should be your tight end one, specifically if you're thinking dynasty football, fantasy football. Colson Loveland comes off the board. I think this is a potential game-changing, dynasty-changing tight end again. It might happen 3 years in a row. This is not Brock Bowers. It's not even close to Brock Bowers, all right? There might not ever be another Brock Bowers.
Technically, it happened 4 years in a row. Kyle Pitts, I guess. I don't know. 5 years.
Well, Trey McBride as well. This is the kind of impact he can have. He can have the Trey McBride. He can have the Sam Laporta impact. He is a wide receiver playing the tight end position, but he has tight end body. That's rare to see. Typically, you say that, and you're like, well, so they're undersized. No, he's not undersized. He's still 6'5", 250. but he has these insane wide receiver traits, specifically as a route runner. I think he can be really special. I don't think people have accounted enough for how terrible the quarterback play was. And I think that's ultimately going to make him a really good value. And maybe we should stop being afraid of taking tight ends at the end of the first, based off of what's happened in the last couple of years. Doesn't mean you keep them. If you sold Sam Laporta in the offseason, you would have been really happy with that return. All right, Tyler Warren comes off the board next. Would I draft Tyler Warren this high? I don't know. Tyler Warren all comes down to landing spot, because I think he and Colson Loveland could not be more different as players. Tyler Warren is like Taysom Hill. All right. Colson Loveland is like Evan Ingram. If you think about those two players and how they're deployed in the NFL, it couldn't be more different. Evan Ingram is like, you purposely use him as a receiver. He's an important, integral part of your receiving game. For Tyler Warren, the man played all over the field, Badaki. He played in the slot. He played out wide. I think he played more in the slot than he did out in line as well as a tight end. They used him as a quarterback because he actually declared as a quarterback in the wild card. They used him as a running back. They used him everywhere. It was the Taysom Hill. That's what he was this year. So it all comes down to
kind
team.
Of intriguing. Yeah, that's kind of intriguing. Like, you telling me this, not watching any film, is like, if you told me how they're being utilized, I would take Tyler Warren. Like, okay, I want a little bit more action. If he's going to be on the field, he's going to be in the slot. Can he be outside? Shit, does he even get some goal line opportunities? Well, if they really get that creative.
That's why I say the landing spot is important, because if this guy goes to Denver, of course, you can think about how Sean Payton's going to utilize him, the way he's used Taysom Hill all these years. But sure, Taysom Hill hasn't been a player we've talked about for fantasy all the time. Like, he's come up a couple games, and that's because in certain schemes, they don't really, like, use him consistently. So I think, but here's what I'll say, like, an NFL team will love Tyler Warren. They will be obsessed with this guy. I just can't be convinced whether or not yet he will be super relevant for fantasy, if that makes sense.
Okay. That's fair. By the way, I'm just going to add Proofy as a moderator on the Dynasty channel.
Love it.
He's been with us for a while.
At the 203, we have, honestly, I haven't spoken about him in this way, but I do think he's one of my favorite raw talents in this class. That's Isaiah Bond. Now, do I have him ranked this high? No, I can't. Simply because the guy has had one 100-yard game in his entire career. It's about 3% of his games he's had 100 yards. He struggled to produce everywhere. Georgia, Texas, you can blame it on quarterbacks, but I mean, he struggled to produce literally everywhere he's gone. But as a raw talent, this guy's got some of the best route running in the class. He's electric after the catch. Everything from a film perspective screams this is going to be a good player. But the analytical profile is awful. It's truly mind-boggling bad, so it's a bit confusing. And by the way, he wears number 7, Badaki. His last name is Bond. Okay. And when he scores a touchdown, he does the James Bond celebration. It's pretty badass.
Yeah, that's cool.
At the 204, we are going to see Devin Neal come off the board. I do love Devin Neal. Might be a little high for me, but I don't think it's crazy. A lot of these running backs are good. Like, you remember how we felt about the wide receivers last year, Badaki? How deep it was? I kind of feel that way about the running backs.
That's how it is for the running backs.
My running back 19, I'm not kidding. My running back 19 in my rankings, I think could be a good starting running back. Like, that's how crazy this running back class is. My running back 19, I'm not saying he will be, but there's like a potential for him to be a starting running back in the NFL. It's crazy. But I love Devin Neal. Super creative player.
Yeah, I like Devin Neal. Yeah.
He's got a nasty jump cut, man. Like, it's scary. Scary good.
Yeah, I like Devin Neal from last year, and if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, I liked him because he was a pass-catching guy. He was getting a lot of opportunities in the backfield. I think he could be like the James Cook of this year, potentially, depending on where he does go. But I think he'll be more of like a third down guy, at least if I remember correctly from last year's scouting, because we thought he was going to go in. But it's going to be interesting.
No, I definitely agree. All right, I just want to make sure I'm caught up with everybody who's off the board before I make my pick. Isaiah Bond's gone, like we said. All right, I'm going to go ahead and draft. Man, I'll be honest. There's 3 players I really, really want to take here. Who do I want to show more love to? I want to show more love to a wide receiver that I have ranked ahead of Emeka Egbuka. I have ranked ahead of Isaiah Bond. I have him ranked ahead of Trey Harris. This wide receiver is my wide receiver 4 in my rankings right now. That is Jalen Royals. Film guys, there's no way they don't fall in love with this guy. There's no way you don't fall in love with Jalen Royal if you put the film on. The guy is... Big Royal. Man, he is special. Got the size. He's 6 foot, 205 pounds. He'll be 22 years at the NFL draft. Wasn't a highly recruited name at all, but kind of made his way, to Utah State. I think, he can definitely improve as a route runner, but there's some pretty good manipulation already on film. The footwork is good. He definitely moves really well. Kind of, I'm not going to say like Brian Thomas movement, but he moves really, really well. Like great fluidity, if you will. Dynamic, versatile, big body, route running, yak threat. He's special. I think he's this complete ball of clay that you can mold into one of the better players at his position. Now, he did suffer an injury this year, which ended his season in week 8. But I think there's potential for another Rashee Rice here. Remember, we liked Rashee Rice. I think this could be Rashee Rice, but he can play outside. That's his ceiling. Imagine if Rashee Rice, you could actually play him outside as well and let him run routes. The guy's nice. He's real nice. It's kind of like Rashee Rice and George Pickens. A mix of those two players. That's the kind of upside I see for Jalen Royals.
Okay, interesting. Jalen Royals. Yeah, look, I'm excited to... I don't know much... Once again, I don't know much about these guys. I know some of these guys, but Jalen Royals, you said wide receiver 4, so you're pretty high on him.
Very high on him.
Over Egbuka as well.
Over Egbuka. Okay. He is my 12th ranked player in the class right now. And...
Right.
Obviously, we know with historical hit rates, we talked about that all last year. That will obviously have an impact on some of these final grades. But at this point so early, I think I don't think it's crazy personally, but I know not everybody agrees. Yeah. All right, we've got Nicholas Singleton coming off the board here at the 207.
Nicholas,
I was pretty harsh on him in my initial rankings, and then the Big Ten championship game happened, and I watched that entire game. And Nicholas Singleton looked like a superstar. It was really confusing because his film, there's a lot of glaring issues in my opinion. But in the Big Ten championship, this guy looked like a freaking superstar, man. I had to reassess. I had to go back. I had to rewatch it. I am open to the idea of Nick Singleton. You know who reminds me of a little bit, Badaki? I think maybe this player might have been a better prospect, maybe not, I don't know. But I think Trey Benson is who he reminds me of a lot. I think he reminds me a ton of Trey Benson, this big size, speed athlete at the running back position. But yeah, I think it's going to be fun to kind of follow.
Yeah. All right.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying RIP Trey. Hopefully he doesn't land into the situation like him.
So sad, right? Because every time he got the opportunities, like he was efficient. He looked good. It was kind of frustrating.
He looked good. I felt like he looked a lot better. I think they just like James Conner, clearly.
Yeah, of course.
But that's okay.
All right, Woody Marks comes off the board next. This was the player I was probably going to draft if Jalen Royals was off the board, but I wanted to show him some love. I actually have Woody Marks ranked a little bit higher, but in the same tier. I don't understand why people don't like Woody Marks. He is my RB5. I have Woody Marks ranked ahead of Quinshon Judkins, ahead of Devin Neal, ahead of Nick Singleton. I think he has the potential to be a very special player. There's a little Tyrone Tracy there to Woody Marks.
Gotta call on
and
Tyrone.
I think people will really like this comp if they watch him. There's a little David Johnson as well.
Oh, David Johnson. Throwback.
There is a little David Johnson on film, in my opinion. I think he's a very special player. USC, he finally, was given his time to shine, if you will. I think he has a chance to be a true 3-down, special type of running back. And he's a true game changer through the air. He had a season, Badaki, at Mississippi State. Let me just ask you, okay, what would you consider like an insane amount of receptions for a running back in college football? What would you say, like, That's an insane season. How many receptions would a running back need to have for you to be blown away?
In college?
Yeah, in college.
I felt like it would be like, I don't know, 50 to 70 receptions. It's a lot.
That's reasonable. Woody Marks had a season with 88 receptions.
Oh, shit.
He has multiple records at Mississippi State. He is a fifth-year senior, so I think that's probably why some people are a little bit lower on him. Clint makes a good point.
Sure.
But I think he's got a chance to be truly special. I really do. And last year, you and I were fans of Tyrone Tracy, but people weren't in. I think this might be a similar situation. I could be wrong.
Same thing. Okay.
Jalen Milroe comes off the board next. I don't know if he's going to declare. I have no strong opinion on him yet. I haven't watched his film. And the reason I haven't is because I don't think he should declare. If he does, I don't think he goes in the first round pretty easily. So I don't have a strong opinion. What I will say is everyone that I've talked to in the draft community is like, yeah, he didn't have the season you wanted him to.
Let's not talk about it.
Maybe a 5th round pick in the NFL draft. So, I mean, the reality is if he were to get like Jalen Hurts draft capital, like early 2nd round, then you could take him here for sure because of the rushing floor. He has like that Anthony Richardson rushing type of, upside.
Opportunity, yeah, for sure.
At the 210, this is a really unique name. You guys may or may not know him. From an analytical perspective, he had the best season of any tight end. Not even close. His name is, I believe it's Harold Fannin Jr. is how you say it. And he plays for Bowling Green. Now, if you know, Bowling Green, historically terrible football program. But here we are talking about him for dynasty purposes.
Come on, baby.
The issue with him, earlier I talked about how Colson Loveland has all these wide receiver traits, but he has a tight end body.
Yeah.
The issue for Harold is he has a wide receiver body, but he plays tight end. So it's kind of like that weird, where does he fit in the offense? Like, think Chigakonkwo, think Jonnu Smith, right? For a long time, Jonnu Smith was not a relevant player in fantasy football. And oddly enough, both of those guys were drafted by Tennessee. But if you find the right landing spot, I can definitely see a scenario in which he becomes a very relevant player. It's just there's a lot of question marks about how high does he get drafted? What's the purpose of him being drafted for someone? He's not going to give you much as a blocker at all. Like, he looks lost as a blocker. Get this boy a map type of lost. It's rough.
Right.
I mean, you can't put him on the line. He's 230 pounds. But the analytics are out of this world. Number 1 receiving grade for tight ends, number 1 in yards per route run, number 1 in first downs. He had a 58.8% contested catch rate. He's a wide receiver. That's the problem. I just don't know exactly where he stands. That's why I'm a little bit concerned.
Right. Okay. That's interesting.
But he's fun. He's really fun to watch. All right.
Howard. Excuse me.
Harold Fannin.
Harold Fannin.
At wide receiver, we have Xavier Restrepo coming off the board next. I don't mind Restrepo. I think he has a chance to be a really solid contributor to an NFL team. I'm not convinced he's like a special athlete. I think that's where maybe I'm a little bit hesitant on him. You have to keep in mind that very few teams threw the ball as much as Miami did this year. I mean, Cam Ward, they let him throw the ball all over the field. I don't think he was chasing Heisman based off of stats. I just think that was their best opportunity to move the ball. Right. But, there was a lot of opportunities in this offense for a lot of wide receivers. And to be fair, he did a lot with them. Like, he looked great. He's a very reliable catcher, 72.6% catch rate, high IQ tempo route runner. He extends plays. But yeah, I just don't think there's any elite trait on film. So we'll have to wait and see what people think. You might like this comp. I think he could be the next Khalil Shakir.
Oh, Shakira.
I think Xavier could be the next Shakira.
Yeah, I mean, look, I thought of a slot wide receiver. So if he's like a slot type wide receiver that can get you those opportunities, I think slot wide receivers, in my opinion, always find opportunity in the league somehow, some way. And it may not be for a long time, but if they can establish themselves, just like Shakira is, I think he can have a long, good flex option for you. And like I think once again, like Shakira has done this year. So I like that.
Yeah.
That comp.
All right. You're last here, man. You're last.
I would say since maybe you want to highlight somebody that you like.
Okay.
Go ahead and choose that person. Once again, I have no
Hell
idea.
yeah.
I couldn't even tell you who's available.
I'll be honest. There are about 6 names that I thought would have been drafted and they didn't. But here's what I'll say. All right. If you want the actual next Tyrone Tracy, and I think he fits today's NFL so perfectly, Badaki.
The next Tyrone Tracy.
He will be in the college football playoffs. You'll be able to watch him.
Okay.
I have him ranked higher than Devin Neal, Nick Singleton, DJ Giddens. These are guys who are already drafted. I have him higher ranked than Nick Singleton. His name is Brashard Smith.
Brashard Smith.
This is a wide receiver to running back convert. And he is playing the position beautifully. And when I talk about special burst, this guy's got burst that's rare. He's got like Jahmyr Gibbs type of burst. Genuinely. Genuinely. And I'm not going to compare him to that player because I'm not ready to be sacrificed by the comment section. But it's you see a little similarities there. If you want a more realistic comp as a ceiling, complete ceiling, there's a little James Cook there as well. You see a little James Cook there. A little Tyrone Tracy if you want to make that comparison. He is a natural receiver because he played the wide receiver position. He's running legit routes out of the backfield. They are targeting him out of the backfield. He's a special player, man. Really, really fun to watch. Really dynamic in the open field. I love him. We'll have to see exactly what NFL teams think about him. You could make the case, like a lot of people are going to be out on him, because of his size. But I feel like we should maybe stop thinking that way. I encourage people to stop thinking that way when I said Devon Achane was special. Some people did, some people didn't. We both encourage people to stop thinking that way with Jahmyr Gibbs. People were concerned about drafting him because of his size. But Brashard Smith is 196 pounds. For some people, that's it. Okay, that's over. He's too small.
Gosh, it's gonna be. Can he get to 200 by the NFL draft? By the NFL Combine. If he gets to 200, he's draftable.
Yeah, exactly. Nice. So it'll be interesting to see how the draft cycle goes. But I do love some Brashard Smith. Can I give some shout outs real quick to some other players that we didn't draft?
Sure.
I want to shout out Jack Besh out of TCU, my wide receiver 6 who went undrafted. I want to shout out Tez. I want to shout out Tez Johnson. Tez Johnson, you'll see him in the college football playoffs. This dude's a monster. He's 165 pounds, but man, he's a nightmare to guard. There's some Tank Dell there. I love Jalen Noel out of Iowa State. Jalen Noel reminds me a lot of Josh Downs. Love Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee, the running back. He put up huge numbers. He's got some Bucky Irving to him. Love Cam Skattebo from Arizona State. Just scouted this guy this week. Badaki, this is David Montgomery.
That's a Skattebo.
Skattebo is David Montgomery.
The only reason why I find that interesting because he's a white boy.
Yeah,
he's a white boy running back.
Yeah, there is.
The only reason why I know that because I made the graphic.
Yeah, full transparency, it is kind of weird to try and watch because there's not many white running backs, but you watch him and you're like, who do I freaking compare this guy to? I think he's David Montgomery.
His last name's Skattebo.
Yeah, I think there's some Javonte Williams. Think about how good Javonte Williams was at breaking tackles. I think there's a little bit of that there. He's not a special athlete by any means. He's definitely not got this elite short area quickness or anything. But he's just a really solid running back. And he could be one of those guys who tests poorly but goes out and then puts up some huge numbers for an NFL team. I think at worst, and I'm genuinely saying this, at worst, this is Tyler Algier. Let's be honest. Tyler Algier could start for an NFL team today. And he could put up huge numbers.
I mean, he did. Wasn't he like a top 15, top 20 running back right before Bijan came?
Exactly.
So it was there.
Exactly. So yeah, just want to give a shout out to some of those names. I love Jarquez Hunter as well. Drew Allard, by the way, just decided to come back to school, which I think is the right move for him. There's so many names we could have talked about. But that was fun. I appreciate you guys. Do us a favor, smash that like button if you have yet to do so. We appreciate y'all big time. This was fun. We'll continue to do
Yeah,
these.
good.
You know, we
I
do
learned
go
a
on
lot.
break for Christmas, but we'll come back after that and we'll be doing them much more often. We do have some super chats here. Steven, appreciate you, man. He says, so who is going to be this year's draft riser between now and the draft? Well, to me, I can name a lot of names. Brashard Smith comes to mind. I have a ton of confidence that Jalen Royals is going to be one of those players. I would have said Drew Allard if he committed. He might have been my, or declared. He might have been my quarterback 2 in this class if he committed. I think he'll be a huge riser. I think DJ Giddens could be. Jack Besh could be. Jaden Higgins probably going to get some hype. RJ Harvey, Kyle Monongai, Alec Ayo Manor if he declares. Yeah.
I'm only going to say one name, and it's because we've seen it all past couple years, and that's Trey Harris.
Yeah, Trey Harris is definitely going to rise too.
He can go even higher. He's going to go higher.
He could go first round based off of pure athleticism. But I think it will be like the Christian Watson, like, oh, look, he tested out of this gym. Okay, does that matter?
He tested out of this gym.
Like,
it wasn't
official. Let's stop putting so much value on the combine, honestly.
Remember Sean Tucker? He's like, oh, I can't make it. So I made my own video right before. Like, dude, is that actually real?
Yeah. Well, actually, Marvin Harrison didn't test. Maybe we should put value on the combine. No, I'm kidding. That's too early. But anyway, we appreciate everybody here. Thanks for hitting the like button, showing some love. What we're gonna do now is we will transition.
We have Michael, by the way.
Oh shoot!
Sorry, I don't know if you saw the other one. Michael, we appreciate you. He says, "Merry Christmas, guys. I appreciate the support. I'm saying skill level and entertainment." He said, "I would like to know when I should kid use." Am I reading this?
That's
wrong?
okay. When I should use 213 of my 1,000 fab, I want to add Strange and Coker and drop Diami and Sean Tucker. So if this is like a dynasty league, Michael, there's no point of having a fab anymore. Blow your load on this, dude. Blow your load. All right.
Sometimes you just gotta blow your load.
I think Coker will be the more difficult one to grab. So I'd put like 170 on him and the rest on Strange and see if you get both. But there's literally no reason to have fab at this point in a dynasty league.
Yeah, I agree. I can understand. There's no point of having some of these guys in the dynasty league. So
yeah,
and you probably can just pick them up without spending that much fab potentially.
All right.
You let us know. But we appreciate you.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate everybody. We appreciate y'all being here. The stream is not over. We just have to transition over to doing a couple team reviews. I do need to hide these rookies now.
Yeah.
But we are going to do some team reviews.
Know how they can do that. Yeah.
And go ahead.
Yeah, guys. So if you guys are with us and you're saying, oh, what are you guys going to do? We're going to do some team reviews. If you guys want to have your dynasty team reviewed by us, we have something called the Playbook. The Playbook is a graphic. I don't know if maybe Zach can put that up as you're putting that all down. No, that's okay. Is a graphic that you get and that we review your team. So you can see untouchables, holds, drops, positional rankings. We even give you trade ideas. And on the right side, what we like to call the chalkboard, where we give you a lot of notes, details of other trades that we would do, anything that we said, maybe draft picks. You're saying, hey, I have the 101, the 105, and the 108 this year. Who should I take? We will break that down for you and give you all of that, what you need here in the Playbook. Okay, so as Zach is getting that ready, you can actually get your dynasty team reviewed with us either today or throughout the off season once the season is over. But we appreciate you. Use that promo code LAND. All you have to do is sign up. And you can get that and so much more.
Well, become a yearly Mother Flocker member if you want to get one along with a membership. That's the best bang for your buck. We're going to release our 2025 draft guide here before Christmas. So that is going to be the best bang for your buck there. But the other option is, regardless of what code you're on, you can just buy one through the Flock store. And that's the link that I just put in the chat for you guys. And I'll show you guys exactly how that works. So basically, when you're at the store, which that's the link that I sent, you go team review. And once you've done that, it should show some of the teams that you've linked. Make sure you link up your teams if you haven't done so yet. Obviously, that's going to be an important step here. But once you do that, you go next at the bottom right of your screen. You hit continue. Make sure you choose your dynasty team, right? So for example, I'll choose mine. Make sure your draft picks are correct. If not, add some. Then once you go to the next screen, you'll see an option to go Zach and Badaki. Team Playbook, the base level is an offline version where we send you that playbook through the DMs on Flock Fantasy. All you have to do is just $10 more to get it live. That live team playbook tier is your other option. Again, you can do this as an a la carte, regardless of what promo code you're on, or you can become a yearly Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND. Those are the two ways you can get your team reviewed. But we are going to go ahead and review Annie's team here. So yeah, let's get this thing going. Let's get this thing pumping.
Let's break it down. Appreciate you, Annie. Thank you so much for being patient. It's just thank you guys for the content. This is my first time playing in the Dynasty League. Just completed the startup draft last week or this week. What should I do from here? Everyone traded up in the draft with this one team, and now he's a good team with a lot of picks.
That's tough.
And the league also has IDP. Okay. So you guys just started this league, which means most likely you will start it. It will start next year. So you guys are just 0-0 right now, I would imagine.
Yeah, they probably just did a startup or something, and which is nice. I mean, you know, you get the startup done now, and you can think about it all off season. You know, you still got something to think about in the off season.
Yeah, no, this is great. And according to this, so this is a 10-man league. This is a 2-quarterback, 10-team start 12. So this is a pretty deep league here.
Yeah, start 12 is huge.
That's what depth is king.
That's a depth is king lineup. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to be looking at getting depth here for your team here, but let's have this breakdown. Jalen twerks with love.
You're number 2.
Ranked, yeah, you technically ranked second on expert consensus rankings here, which is not bad at all. Let's see this Thanos team. Why is he just a super team?
The Nardog. He's got great quarterbacks.
It's probably because his draft capital 1, 2, 3, 4. 25 first.
Yeah. Well, he's got Brock Bowers too. That's a cheat code.
Yeah. Nico, Malik.
It's a decent team. Like the depth is pretty good as well. You've got like Ridley, Godwin, Josh Downs, Adunze Smith, Neighbors, Collins. That's a pretty those are valuable players in a start 12, where you can start up to 7 receivers. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But let's have a look at their team here. Go ahead, walk us through this roster.
Yeah. Once again, Superflex League. So Jalen Hurts in love with Michael Penix. I think it's phenomenal quarterback room. You don't have to worry about that. Running back position, Brian Robinson, Tyrone Tracy, Ramondre Stevenson, and honestly, the list goes on there. So you have 3 wide running backs that are interesting to see how we can manage. But maybe we can get another running back going into 2025 potentially. At the wide receiver position, keep in mind you can start up to 7 wide receivers.
That's a nice room.
Yeah. Drake London, Rashee Rice, Brian Thomas, Calvin Ridley, Jaden Reed, Shakir, Ricky Pierce. So that will be your starting 7 right now. Maybe you swap it over with Cedric Tillman, obviously, or I guess that's about it essentially. So that it's not a bad room, but it will get better in 2025 depending on who you take. And then obviously at the tight end position, Travis Kelce, Evan Ingram, and the list goes on there. So it's not bad. I think your wide receiver room is really good and young as well.
Yeah, it's really good, really young. You can build around that for a while. Jalen Coker, we have no idea what he can be, but he looks like a fun piece as well. I think Keishon Butte kind of is what it is at this point. But yeah, this is a nice little roster you got here, to be honest. You got Kelce and Evan Ingram at tight end. So even if you wanted to flex Evan Ingram instead of one of those tight ends in your last flex spot, it's a good team. You don't have any superstar running backs, but your quarterbacks are your strength, your wide receivers are your strength. And in a super flex start 12, I think that's probably the way I would have built as well. Now, they have 1 first-round pick this year. They have 2 seconds. They have 3 seconds actually.
3 seconds, which is not bad actually.
Yeah, let's say this is B+. I'd say B+ draft capital there.
Okay.
We don't know exactly where those first-round picks are, because what they did is in their startup draft, they probably drafted the startup picks along with the players. But yeah, this is a nice little squad we got going on here. I love the Michael Penix pick as well, kind of just waiting in the background, waiting to take over. So yeah. Brizzleton, by the way, this team is not currently competing. They just did a startup. So this team, they're not currently in a draft. I'm speaking about next year. This team is thinking about next year at this point. But yeah, what would you grade this team out of the startup? I think I can't put it in A range with that running back room. But
no, and for me, it was just initially a B, like a B flat. I actually don't mind this team. You know, once again, the running back room is not amazing, but if nothing happens going into their road next year, if Brian Robinson is still going to be the guy like we saw Washington this year, that's fine. If Tyrone Tracy, they don't draft another running back, that's fine. Ramondre Stevenson also got a long-term contract. If they don't get another running back, that's also fine. So you technically have 3 starting running backs that you can rotate. It could be better, but I think B. Just a B flat for me is good.
I agree, B flat. Yeah, definitely your running back rooms are your weaknesses, but you're the type of team that's gonna, like, through the NFL draft, through free agency, you will be holding your breath because of all the running backs you have. Does Washington get Ashton Genty? Do the Giants go out and sign someone or draft one of these running backs in the second round? Does the Patriots pick someone up? I mean, surely at this point, the Broncos are going to draft someone. I feel like they have to.
Mm-hmm. Hey, but you got Jalen Wright as well, which we didn't mention. I know Devon Achan's there, but Jalen Wright's interesting. Yeah,
and how long can they give, Devon Achan 60% of the carries when he's not being efficient anymore? So, yeah, it's a good running back room. Hopefully, there's at least 2 guys who are starters by the time it's actually, your time to shine. But yeah, as far as like pathways, and again, we need to make a graphic for this, but I think this is a sleeper team.
It's a sleeper team. Okay.
I think there's a couple moves you can make and you'll get right in the mix. We're definitely not rebuilding, right? I mean, with Jalen Hurts, Jordan Love, Travis Kelce, and this wide receiver room, we're not going to rebuild next year.
No, you're right. Okay, so sleeper team. By the way, I was just looking at the context there. She did give some more.
On the
if you look at that message, that first round pick is the 104.
Oh, I like that. That's perfect, actually.
We just did the 104, and I mean, who just went off the board at that 104 in this mock draft that we did, our first mock draft earlier.
I don't remember, but you could definitely turn that into a starting running back. I'm confident.
Yeah,
Marion Hampton is perfect. Genuinely perfect addition for this team. Now, obviously, Annie, when you're watching this, we can't make any conclusions right now. We can give you a rough guideline because ultimately draft capital does matter. We know how important it is historically. But I think Omarion Hampton, at worst, is a second-round pick and probably a starting running back from day one. Is that with the Cowboys? Like, who is that with? I don't really know, but I think he has a really good chance to be a starter day one. We'll definitely have a look at the chalkboard for you here. But before we do that, let's talk about some untouchables. To me, man, I feel like Brian Thomas is definitely an untouchable. In fact, I should move him up in my rankings.
Okay, Brian Thomas. The one that comes up to me would just be, I think one of these quarterbacks can be untouchables. Like, I don't know if I want to move them.
I think they're all movable names. That's why I'm struggling, but
because I feel like what we'll end up doing is let's put
Hurts because ultimately, if we are going to try and compete, there's no reason to move him.
Yeah.
I think it's a definite good idea to hold Rashee Rice.
Rashee Rice, yeah, I was going to say Rashee Rice.
I would also definitely suggest holding onto Chris Olave because his value is probably shot, and there's a chance that their quarterback changes this offseason.
Okay with that. Drops is Bud Memes.
Yeah, you can definitely drop Bud Memes.
I would drop Trey Parker as well.
Parker Washington. Yeah.
Or
you could drop
Trey
Parker.
Tucker.
Oh. Yeah, you could drop either of those guys, to be honest. I think I want to keep... what about Madison? I mean, why wouldn't we drop him, if we had to make space? I think we could add him.
Alexander Madison. We can drop. I would also I mean, I personally think you can drop Gibson. I guess you can hold him.
You can hold him because he's a backup. You already have Stevenson.
Kayshawn, I'm happy to drop.
Maybe, but
Kayshawn Booty.
he's been their wide receiver 1 at times. I wouldn't drop him personally. I'd rather drop those other names. But
You would rather drop like Tolbert or Parker?
I'd rather drop Parker or Bub or Trey Tucker or Madison, one of those names instead. Okay. But let's think about future plans. I don't really know, like, to be honest, guys, when you finish a startup, I think that's the most difficult time to make trades happen, because a lot of you guys would have done trades in your drafts and you would have gotten to a position where you wanted to be. You would have kind of defined your role, and then you're probably already in this clear direction of where you want to go. So it's tough to kind of like switch it up, you know, right after the draft and start making trades. So you might have to wait until the offseason to the NFL draft and stuff. But I think if I were to make moves, Badaki, with this team, I'm not sure I would really sell anyone high. I don't think you, like, for example, we're not going to sell Hurts or Love because we want to compete. I don't think you need to sell these running backs because we want to compete. I don't want to sell these wide receivers. I think I want to build around them. I don't think you can sell Travis Kelce if you want to compete. So probably my main goal would be using these second-round picks to target rebuilders and get veterans. Like James Conner, we were doing all last year. Alvin Kamara, we were doing all last year. Derrick Henry, we were doing all last year. You know, get like one hammer as a vet on your team, or even 2. I think that's the path forward I would take. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I think that's what makes more sense to me than anything else.
Yeah, I'm okay. There's only one person. There's actually 2 people I'm okay to pivot off of if it's possible. I'm not necessarily sure, and those are the running backs. What you kind of said, that's not what you would do. My thing is, like, if I can pivot off of Tyrone to get a solidified running back that I know their opportunity is not going to be hindered any way, shape, or form, and he might be a little bit older than Tyrone. Can I do that? You know, like, I'm just trying to see. I'm actually pulling it up right now. Like where Tyrone Tracy is on KTC.
It's a good question. I'd be curious to hear that answer.
Tyrone is RB19. People ahead of him: Pacheco, Brian Robinson, Chuba Hubbard. Like, would you rather have Chuba Hubbard or Tyrone Tracy?
Chuba Hubbard for sure.
Yeah, and then obviously names underneath them. What about? I mean, this is older. This is Alvin Kamara. I don't know if you want to do that. Zach Charbonnet,
I'd rather just hold on to Tyrone at that point.
Yeah, I'd rather hold on to him at that point. I personally would rather have like a DeAndre Swift, but you can get DeAndre Swift and more. Technically,
but Aki, this is just my personal opinion. I think DeAndre Swift gets replaced this offseason, or at minimum, they make him
they bring somebody in
to a Hampton, Caleb, you know, one of these big backs that can actually handle the workload.
What if you go another route though? Like, would you want Tyrone Tracy or Travis Etienne, whose value is at an absolute low right now?
If you can do a second and third round pick swap, then yeah.
Yeah, you can get a second. Okay. Like that's the only way I'm thinking about Tyrone, is if I can pivot to somebody that I know their value feels like we believe they won't change going into 2025.
Yeah, I mean, you could try like a first here, but I don't think that's going to work. Like, I don't think you can send a second and get Etienne in a first. You'll probably have to do a second and a third swap, but that's probably one of the best ideas we've had in a while.
And the same thing with Brian Robinson, really quick.
Okay.
3 names ahead: Chuba Hubbard, Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry. Well, I guess you could throw David Montgomery. He just tore his MCL, so he's out for the season.
Yeah.
That's about it. That's all you can do with Brian Robinson. You might be best to hold him since he's on a decent offense.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so let's look at some trades that we can make with veteran teams that have veterans that are clearly rebuilding. So I'm going to sort by running back strength. Okay, this guy is Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels. He has no first-round pick. I don't think he's rebuilding. How about Dr. Overkill, who has no picks in 2025? That's not going to work. We need to find the team that has a bunch of first round picks, like Gotham City, for example. Okay, this is perfect. They have David Montgomery. That's perfect. Let's go try and get a second or David Montgomery for a second.
Yeah.
Like, that is the perfect type of veteran to go out and add. If that's possible, that's an easy smash. That guy looks like a rebuilder. He's collecting draft picks like he's Thanos, but he's not. That's okay. He doesn't need to know that.
You don't need to know that.
Let's see. Let's find another team that's kind of collecting these draft picks. Where are all the draft picks at, man? Okay. Nardogs has a lot of them. Okay. For example, Christian McCaffrey, right? Or Bucky Irving. I don't think you're going to get him for this, but if you can spend 2 seconds and get a Bucky Irving, or at least start a conversation, I think that is one of the most ideal scenarios out there.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I think if you can do the same thing for CMC, I think that makes a lot of sense as well. 2 seconds for CMC. You get him next year.
We'll put up there. I'm not in love with CMC. I think I just want to. The decline has hit, and it's hit hard, and I don't know if I want to be a part of it at all. Sure. Even if I'm contending.
I would feel that way if they didn't just sign him to an extension this offseason, but I do understand the concern.
Yeah.
Would you want to go take a shot on Chase Brown? Probably not. You don't want to add another running back like that. You can't get Ken Walker for a couple seconds, unfortunately. You'd have to spend a first.
Chase Brown is just process. Where are the Bengals right now? Sorry, I know this is so left field.
Yeah.
Oh, they're pick 13. They're in that sweet spot right now for Ashton Genty.
They are. It's scary.
It is
I think
scary.
Those two ideas though are they make a lot of sense for Montgomery and Bucky and CMC. I think you can do the same thing, by the way, for a wide receiver, because you have a good wide receiver room, but you wouldn't be that good of a room where you couldn't add a veteran that could clearly help you. So let's try and find these teams that again are rebuilding. And man, they're tough to find in your league.
Yeah.
But for example, Jacoby Myers, would you send a second for him?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
You could send a second for Jacoby Myers. Honestly, I don't even know if he'll cost that. Maybe you can do 2/3, but he'll probably get a quarterback upgrade or a perceived quarterback upgrade here soon. Man, this guy has a bunch of young receivers. This might not work.
I would do like a second for like a Mooney.
Who has Mooney though? Is it a competing team?
Iron. And I don't know, his name's Iron.
Yeah.
Plaid one.
So he's Mooney, his team has no first round pick.
Yeah, he doesn't really have much on his team, to be fair.
Yeah, I think we have to look at teams that are going to be willing to sell because they're rebuilding, like Chris Godwin, maybe from Nardogs. You might be able to get him cheaper than a second at this point with his injury. I mean, we can even add like Calvin, maybe. Those are some ideas.
Calvin is interesting.
My favorite idea is adding David Montgomery to this roster, adding Bucky Irving. What's yours favorite? Probably the Tyrone Tracy one.
The Tyrone Tracy pivot, yeah. Surely they get rid of Doug and they get a better quarterback or coach.
We'll have to wait and see. Probably, maybe not.
Yeah. I think that's good. And then at the 104, if it is 104, which is really early, we can just put names.
Yeah, Amarion Hampton, Caleb Johnson is who it would be for me. That'd be my list there, because I think you should get an impact running back in the class. Of course, assuming draft capital is there. And
if that's not the case, and some of these quarterbacks start to go up, then try and trade back. Like get some more value and get some more running backs.
Exactly. And then in the second round, I think there's a whole bunch of running backs you can target, like Woody Marks. This is all, again, depending on draft capital. Brashard Smith, who we've talked about before. Man, the names go on and on and on. Like DJ Giddens, Dylan Sampson, Cam Scataboo.
Cam Scataboo, I can't get over that white boy naming Cam Scataboo. That's
It is. Devin Neal, Nick Singleton. You know, these type of names. Jarquez Hunter, Jordan James. There's like the names are endless. Those are the type of names that you would acquire with all these second round picks if you kept one of them or whatever the case may be.
Jarquez, yeah.
But yeah. We do have, I think, Dayton in the chat. This might be their team. And just want to open the floor to you. That's probably most of the ideas that we have. We appreciate you. We will obviously send you your team playbook within the next 48 hours over on the message. Like the same place where you submitted it on your account, you'll see in the 48 hours, you'll see a team review with the playbook. But let us know if you have any questions here. We'd love to answer any last minute questions that you might or might not have.
Glad you're here, man.
Yeah.
But this is a great team. Like we said, I think windows open, if I'm not mistaken, or sleeper, excuse me. And you have some good opportunities here. I think we will be prioritizing, at least for me, since you have your quarterbacks, you don't necessarily have to prioritize it. But if you were in a different position, I would say you still prioritize wide receiver as 1, quarterbacks 2, running back 3, tight end 4. But like quarterback and wide receiver can definitely be, 1A, 1B for sure.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I mean, wide receivers are uber important in this. Even like your wide receiver 2s that we complain about all the time. Your Jordan Addisons of the world.
Yeah, like those guys are huge to your team here.
100%. But we appreciate you big time. Again, if you are here in the chat with us, let us know if you have any last minute questions. We will be looking to see if you submit a question at all. But let's go to Dub G next. And again, Annie, we're still here if you do end up submitting one. If you guys are out there and you want your team playbook, there's 2 ways you can get it. Either through the Flock Fantasy website, just with the expert advice little button here at the bottom right or the top right of your page. It'll take you to a little tab that looks like this, team review, and make sure you link up your Dynasty team first in the My Teams page. But once you're there, choose your team, make sure the draft picks are all correct, and then you'll see the land guys. The base level is an offline version. All right, the next level is just $10 more to get it live. If you're a member with our code, you'll get a discount on that. And we really would suggest to become a member if you haven't done it yet and you want a team review, because when you become a member, you get one of these team playbooks as part of your membership, right? So it automatically comes with being a yearly Mother Flocker member. You have to be a yearly Mother Flocker member. But all right, let's get to the next team review here. Dub G24, who is in the chat. Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, let's get to it. He says expansion team year 1. One team is full on tanking with the most picks held. So pivoted to acquiring young wide receiver core, flipped Tyreek Sennett for Neighbors. Oh, wow. That's insane. Sorry, guys. My computer did that real cool thing where it just stops working. Can you talk for me? Can you guys hear Badaki? Let me know. Just say yes or no. He says, will down tier off Tua, maybe Stroud for old quarterback plus asset. Penix should be my quarterback 2 going forward. Thanks. Okay, they can't hear you. Let me fix that. Let's see. Okay, how about now? Can they hear you now?
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear him now? Let us know.
Yeah, they can hear. They can hear. I was just watching it. They can hear it. Okay, awesome.
All right, his team name is Alien All-Stars. This is a 2 quarterback, 12 team start 10. So start 10 in a super flex. You're looking at kind of like the middle ground here
Yeah, super flex middle ground.
You can flex maybe 3 or 3 wide receivers. Either way, you have 5 potential wide receivers that you can start. And take us through his team. Alien Stars. He's ranked 7th right now.
Yeah, ranked 7th. And he's 7-7, so I'm not sure you've made the playoffs. Probably not. We don't know. CJ Stroud, Michael Penix, Geno Smith. Interesting. We'll see what happens with Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins here. If he loses tonight, I think it could be the nail in the coffin potentially. Not the nail in the coffin, but it's like
if you own Michael Penix, you want Kirk Cousins to shit the bed tonight.
At the running back position, Tracy, Swift, Dobbins, Warren, or Jalen Wright, excuse me. The list goes on. Not the strongest running back room. Obviously, Tracy's interesting. I still interested in Swift. Zach saying they could bring in another running back or take over them. That can be a tough one, which I can definitely see happening. At the wide receiver position, Puka Nacua, Malik Neighbors, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jalen Waddle, Chris Godwin, Jerry Jeudy, Jermaine Burton, and the list goes on there. This is a start 10, meaning you can start up to 5 wide receivers, and you have your starting 5 that are strong and confident on a week-to-week basis. Maybe when Chris Godwin does come back, that is going to be even more stronger.
And you're hoping that this Jerry Jeudy breakout is the real deal, which it looks like it is at the moment.
At the tight end position, obviously David Njoku, K-Doll, and that's about it. And you don't have any of your first round picks. Like, you don't have any valuable picks here in 2025 or in 2026. So you only have 4 first rounds in the next 2 years.
And I went to KTC just to double check if that was accurate. And
let us know if it's accurate, yeah.
They showed 2027 first round picks. He has 1 pick in 2027. But our site doesn't show 2027. I wonder if we can. Maybe write that.
I moved a lot of picks there.
But no first round picks for a while. And no seconds for a while. So we are kind of pushing the chips in the middle of the table here. Like, if this isn't a Windows open team, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
And that's one of our pathways for you guys. Windows open, basically meaning, you know, you got some vets, you got some young players, and you're kind of going out and competing right now, right? Like, you got the Swift, who's a vet, the Dobbins, who you hope resigns as a vet. You know, you got the Godwin, the Jeudy, the Njoku, the Geno Smith. You know, you have some young players who are great, but you're definitely a Windows open. Like, it's time to take advantage of these players because we don't have our draft picks. It's time to go out and try and win next year. He says, wasn't an expansion, actually. It was a dispersal draft. 6 teams left and 6 new owners joined. Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, okay, so definitely Windows open. As far as like team grade, draft capital, your grade is probably like a D minus. Well, let's just say D. He has an upcoming first round pick, but it's in 2027, so very limited resource. As far as overall team grade, those wide receivers are pretty strong. You're definitely banking on Penix, so I think Penix could elevate your team grade if he becomes that guy.
Especially in the Superflex League, which is my concern. My initial thought for this team was like a C minus. And I think that's because of that Superflex quarterback. Like Zach said, you are banking on a quarterback. And if Michael Penix, at minimum, doesn't start next year, I'm not necessarily sure. He says I traded Tua on Friday.
What did you trade Tua for? Just let us know. Here's what I'll say. C minus. I think, yeah, I don't think that's crazy because if this was like a smaller starting lineup, like one flex spot, I think I'd go higher because of the strength at wide receiver. But I think C minus is probably accurate. CJ Stroud doesn't look like a superstar in fantasy. He looks like a good quarterback, but you know, he doesn't look like a superstar. So, how long will Geno be there? What will Penix be?
Yeah. So just reading the context, he did send a message. He said ending up trading Tua, Dalton Schultz, and Coker for Njoku, Geno, and Swift. Tight end premium. It's a 2-point tight end premium.
Okay. Yep.
Was ready to move off risk of 2 concussions, using Geno as a bridge to Penix, considering down tiering of Stroud. But earlier in the season, when I shopped him, there was not much more interest. Yeah.
Can I ask, WG, is this a sleeper league? I assume it is. Reason being is I want to message our devs and let them know that we have a team that is showing as non-Titan premium but has a 2-point premium.
Does it even say that in the front page? Yeah. Well, it
does
doesn't say that. It doesn't say, like, you know how it says 2 quarterback 10 team start. Yeah, it doesn't say that in the league settings. Anyways. Okay. Oh wait, sorry. Hold on. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I was looking at the wrong team.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we get that information to them because
I would say this is a C minus. Yeah, just because your quarterbacks are struggling, your running backs are struggling, but your wide receivers are your strongest point here. And if in a tight end premium having Njoku there, I think it all really helps. But like, if you don't have a first round pick in 25 or in 26, and Geno's gone after this year, and Michael Penix doesn't start, who are you starting?
I don't think I think he'll start again next year because of how bad this class is. He's got another year of usability.
So you have another year of usability. Sure, that's fine.
You have to hope Penix takes that next step, and you have to hope that Stroud regains his value so you can tear down again. But WG, you probably know this. We were tearing down from Stroud all offseason. Now is probably not a good time. I think you said in the messages he said no one's interested, right?
Yeah. No one. He said no one's interested.
So, yeah, I don't think you can tear down from Stroud. Honestly, I mean he's not startable right now. You know. Okay, so if we do want to go out and compete, I think your biggest issue is like you don't have like a solid like RB1 that you would point to and say that guy's going to carry me to the playoffs. But the other issue is you don't have assets to go out and trade for that guy either, do you, Badaki?
No,
so
you don't. Unless you use a tight end premium tight end to get something.
Do we use Cade Otton and J.K. Dobbins and try and go out and get something? He says league is pretty tight. Put Tua on the block. And offer was Jordan Whittington. Who the fuck would accept that in a super flex league?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Even in one quarterback.
That's a toughie.
I think you're gonna have to use Otton. I don't know how else you do this.
Yeah, this is tough. I'm just not sure anyone wants Otton right now because what is he on KTC out of curiosity? I feel like when he had that run, that was great, but
someone might view him as a 2 tight end premium, asset, and
he's tight end 11 right now. What is Njoku? Njoku's tight end 8, so I guess it's not that big of a gap.
It should be way larger, but let's take advantage of that then.
Let's take advantage, exactly.
So I think really your goal is to turn Cade Otton plus something into a starting running back, because right now your 2-point premium is the only thing that's going to help you make that happen. So what we need to do is we need to look at the tight end position, find the weakest team. This is perfect. For example, never met Dakota but RIP. They have no starting tight end. Like, it's not even close. They have no one to talk about. So can we turn Cade Otton straight up into Ramondre Stevenson? Could we turn Cade Otton plus something into Bucky Irving?
He said no trade deadline, by the way. So you can do this at any point in time.
Right. So Cade Otton plus what? So for example, Cade Otton plus. Let's try and get Bucky. It's probably not going to happen, full transparency, but let's try. Would you do Cade Otton plus J.K. Dobbins plus... I mean, you have to use one of these picks in 2027, like his second in 2027.
Kate Alton in the second and 27 to get
Bucky Irving. Just try. I don't think it's going to work, but try.
Yeah, I agree. You can try it.
And we just don't know if you're going to even be able to rely on J.K. Dobbins next year. If he signs a long-term contract, great. Then, story's different. Okay, so that is potentially an option. Like I said, I think you could probably do Kate Otten straight up for Ramondre, but I'm not even sure if I really want to do that. I've not been a Stevenson guy, and I'm not sure this year is really changing my opinion. Do you like that deal? I don't know that I'm obsessed with it, but I'm trying to remain open.
Yeah, I do like that deal. I think not that Kate Alton is going to be done with, but Mike Evans is pretty big. I think you can only see value with him if Mike Evans is not on the field.
Okay, that's fair.
And I feel like next year Chris Godwin's going to come back. Well, if he does come back and Mike Evans is there, it's just going to be irrelevant.
Okay, how about the guy who has Tyler Conklin? James Cook, I don't think I'd be willing to send a first for him. But, I mean, can we do the same deal for James Cook that we just did for Bucky?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Another guy who has no tight end worth noting.
I like James Cook.
Let's see. Yeah, wow, this is a tough league, honestly. All right, what about I mean, at this point, would you do it straight up for Alvin Kamara, considering you're really trying to take advantage of like this 2-year window? I think I would. Kate Alton for Alvin Kamara straight up.
Yeah, I'm okay with that as well. He did get an extension, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I'm not gonna lie though, it's tough out here. I mean, could you send him for Isaiah Pacheco? Like, these are another name that you could target.
Another name you can do.
I'm not sure that gets accepted, but in your premium, I don't know how much people value those names. David Montgomery might be the perfect target. So, for example, Kate Otten plus something for David Monty for next year. So, Kate Otten plus, like, what's some of these names that we have on our team that are expendable? Would you send Kate Otten plus? I mean, do we want to do?
There's not much that is expendable until.
Yeah, do we want to try like Dobbins and? I kind of want to keep Dobbins.
The other name I thought about was like, well, can you do like Kate Alton in the second for Monty? How about that? In the tight end premium in the second.
I definitely think you can do that. You might be able to get a third back too.
Yeah, I would say I would do the Kate Alton in a second for.
Says thoughts on moving Judy, by the way.
Yeah, we can move Judy if you like.
What is Judy on KTC? Because I don't think Judy's a name that people trust yet, even with the incredible season he's had.
Jerry Judy is. Where you at, Jerry? He is wide receiver 36.
Yeah, see, that's not a sell price. That's putting like a late second, early third round price on him. Probably. Late second. That to me is a hold.
Yeah, I agree. David Montgomery is definitely ideal. Maybe Travis Etienne. I think we kind of use that name last.
Just straight up. I think that could work.
Yeah, straight up. You can get Travis Etienne, see if somebody wants to sell him with no value.
I think that's kind of where the well runs dry.
Well, maybe not. Would you do it for like someone like a Trey Benson?
It'd have to be structured differently.
It's like, a risk,
for example,
sure.
Kate Otten and actually just Kate Otten, and I would need Trey Benson in a third, probably at minimum. Probably an early third.
If you wanted to do the longer route, you can also do Jonathan Brooks, but like that return is not going to happen next year. It's going to happen the year after.
Yeah. Everybody else is good at tight end, so I think those are your main options there to try and explore that trade. But full transparency, I'm not sure how many of these actually happen. I mean, I think Bucky is the best target. I think Monty's probably the second best target pretty easily. Those are two great ones for your team. Which ones do you love? I know you love James Cook.
Yeah, I like James Cook. I like the Monty one, and I don't mind Travis 18. WG says Judy plus Alton 4.
I just don't think you should sell Judy. Unless you can get like... So, for example, if you sell Judy, can you get a first-round pick in 2025? And then go out and get a Quinshon... I don't like Quinshon, but people do, like a Travion Henderson, for example, or something, you know? Like, can you sell Jerry Judy to a contender for a mid-first? One that you can capitalize on this year for the running back upgrade. But I think that's your main goal there, I'd say.
According to this, it's just really difficult to trade Jerry Judy. I mean, names ahead of Jerry Judy: Mike Evans, Xavier Worthy, Keon Coleman. Underneath, Chris
Keon
Godwin,
Coleman's
Shakir,
ahead of him.
Cooper Kupp. Yeah,
you can't sell 33. You can't sell Jerry Judy if that's how we're valuing him on KTC.
Brandon Ayuk is wide receiver 29. Like,
yeah, I've been buying him everywhere actually.
You could do Jerry Judy in a second for Ayuk or something in a third, or
maybe you could do it straight up. Actually, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah. I would do. I mean, just trying to give ideas. Like, you could. I mean, if you want to do Jerry Judy and Kate Alton, maybe you can get into like the DJ Moore range.
Well, we want to get running back if we do that, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So teams that need wide receiver that have running backs. For example, Indianapolis wide receiver room is 9-5. They have no running back that's really worth targeting for that upgrade. The 9-5 team Cincy Kid, you could try Breece Hall. So for example, I don't know. I don't really want to acquire Breece Hall right now. It's weird. It's weird in New York. I can't catch the vibe.
You know, in vibes.
But I think
look,
you're very limited, but I think that's maybe the most ideas we can offer. I do want to clear the floor for WG though and say, hey, whatever questions you have, please let us know. We want you to get the most out of this review. But
yeah. And as we're waiting for him, let's talk about like untouchables and stuff.
Okay, yeah.
And holds.
Yeah, I don't know that there is one outside of Puka and Malik.
Yeah,
I would
as well.
I would hold. Well, based off his current value, I'd hold Jerry for sure. Unless you can get one of those deals done, I would hold probably Penix. You can definitely drop Jamari Thrash, Rondale Moore, Rasheen Ali. If you need to clear space, Tip Ryman. You can drop all these guys if you need. Yeah. Proof. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. WG says, I feel ya. All good, no questions. Just wanted some ideas. I went hard trading to build wide receiver room. Lack of picks, limited flexibility. Yeah, you're in a tough spot, but you can't like you can maneuver your way into a contender next year. But I think that's definitely the route you should take. But again,
yeah,
your playbook will be sent to you in the Flock Fantasy DMs within the next 48 hours. Badaki's going to be cooking that up for you, and hopefully that's going to be helpful. If you guys are out there and you want your team playbook, there's two ways you can get it. First way is by going to the link I'm about to put in the chat. If you want to buy one a la carte, regardless of what promo code you're on, you can buy one. If you want the live tier, if you want a live review with it, just make sure you get the live tier. The other option is by becoming a yearly Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND. That is your other option there. I'll put that link in the chat for you there. I think yearly member is the best bang for your buck. I'd say we both would say that. And our draft guide comes out soon. So if you become a yearly member, you'll have access to that rookie draft guide too. But that's it for today, guys. Games are on. Do appreciate you all. Anything you want to say?
Just turned it on.
To
I just literally turned the game, and Caleb Williams just got popped. That's all I have to say. Just turned it on.
Not surprising,
But appreciate you guys. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Like I said, we'll get those. Get that within 24 to 48 hours. And all love, guys. All love. It was fun today.
See you soon. Love.